Whale Fam. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Loud and clear.
There we go. And we are spot on the dot at 9 p.m. 9 p.m. PST, New York. Welcome to the Sandbox interview. I know that a lot of you have been waiting for this for a very long time. We're way overdue. I'm very, very pleased to have Sebastian, the co-founder as well as the CEO of the Sandbox, with both Alegria and myself tonight. For those of you who have been living under a rock and don't know much about the Sandbox, they are one of the most high-profile projects in the space. They did release some information on October 26th, probably outdated already, but you're talking about a project with over 55,000 Twitter followers, over 18,000 Discord and 20,000 Telegram members, $25 million in land value, so that's over 500% in 10 months in price appreciation, over 160,000 total lands available, 70,000 unique NFTs on OpenSea as well as Ludex, over 110,000 Vox Edit downloads, over 4,000 Game Maker users, and already 17 games created through the Sandbox Game Makers Fund. Seb, that is quite a mouthful, my friend. Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you, Well Shark. I'm glad that we published those stats very recently. Avid follower on Twitter. You're one of the best community we know, the most active and most engaged here. So I'm really pleased and to be here with you, everyone in this room. I hope we'll have a fruitful conversation and I will be able to answer all your questions, if not most of them, within this hour. And that it will not be just a one time, but we will be able to schedule more of this over the long run.
Seb, we would love to have you whenever you have the time. And once again, you know that the whale community has always been a huge supporter, a huge fan of the project. For all of you whale holders out there, we are the second largest landholder next to Binance. And you know,
for now,
I think for now, and you know, I guess no one can blame us for that. But we're still going strong. At the same time, the vault has really over the last 2 months appreciated due to the appreciation of Sandbox the game as well as the capital appreciation of the land. So just some housekeeping before we begin. If everyone can join the stream, you guys can see a looping video of Sandbox. Thank you very much, Seb, for passing that on to us. And then after that, this is as much an interview as well as an AMA. So feel free to post your questions anytime in the stream text, and Gian will pick those up and pass them to Alegria and myself. Seb, if it's okay with you, why don't we target for a 30-minute interview and 30-minute AMA? Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that sounds okay. All good.
Fantastic. So I'm going to kick this off. Seb, I know that a lot of us are very familiar with the project as well as yourself, but you know we always have a lot of new members coming in. So could you give us an introduction of yourself as well as Sandbox, perhaps also touching on the history of the game itself and your professional history as a founder of the original project?
Absolutely. So, hi everyone. My name is Sébastien Borger. I'm French. Maybe you can guess it from my accent. I'm 35 years old, and the Sandbox is now my fourth company. I started in 2007 together with my co-founder Arthur Madrid in the space of technology. So our first company was involved in peer-to-peer technology using one of the very first applications of decentralization by the time, which was a BitTorrent protocol to enable media, video on demand, TV channels to share video on demand, large movies, file and save on their bandwidth costs using our peer-to-peer plugin. We sold that company about 2 years after to a CDN network in Europe, and then we launched a media website where users could upload their photo, video, and music online and share them with their friends, enabling to create virtual libraries and stream them much before Spotify, Netflix, etc. So there was no notion of cloud or streaming yet back then. And it was a pretty successful venture, which we sold a few years after as well to an antivirus company and cloud backup storage. And in 2011, I I jumped into like I would say like my dream job, which was to build video games. You know, as a kid, I've always dreamt. I guess many of us as kids were dreaming of making video games, and I saw the opportunity to do. It seems it's still something achievable again. Back then, when iPhone and Android phone appeared, so that's how we put our feet into making video games and building our own mobile games free to play with IPs, and with this idea that we could turn players into creators. That's been one. It's been really our main driver through the years, and we've had a large success with various type of games. On one side, city builder games with IPs like Snoopy, Garfield, Adam's Family now, Goosebumps, if you're familiar. And on the other side, well, the Sandbox franchise, which started as a mobile game in 2012 and grew into a pretty significant success, reaching over 40 million installs on iOS and Android. We made a sequel in 2016 called the Sandbox Evolution, which is still available and you can play for free if you like. And then around 2018, this mobile game studio has been acquired by another company, which some of you might be familiar in the space. It's called Animoca Brands. It's a game studio based in Hong Kong, which have over 300 IPs in its portfolio and is one of the pioneers in blockchain games as well, with titles like Formula One Delta Time now, but they were one of the very first investor and publisher in Asia for CryptoKitties back at the end of 2017. And that's where we decided to build a third version of Sandbox game, this time using 3D, multiplayer, multi-platform, and using NFTs to create this, we hope, the large success that the franchise deserves. So it's true that we've worked for over 8 years on Sandbox, and so we've seen it grow almost like a kid, you know, like start as your baby child. And now it's a much younger, almost teenager. And but at the same time, when we started almost at the same time as Minecraft, as Roblox, and a few other games like Terraria, etc. And we always had this frustration of like, we made 40 million installs, but why we were not able to make a game that can grow to 100 million players and can become a mainstream success. And a few reasons behind that frustration, and I wouldn't call it a failure, but at least like the fact that we were not able to break through the glass and become that mainstream success came down essentially to the lack of multiplayer in the game. The fact that we were 2D, and on the mobile device, 2D, it's pretty fun to create, but the playability with your fingers was pretty limited and not so fun at the end of the day. And we found that if we were to build a new version that used 3D and multiplayer, we had to incorporate something really new, something disruptive, something that comes down to the idea we had from the very beginning to empower players and creators, and that thing that brings together all these parameters has been NFTs for us, essentially since towards the end of 2017 when I entered the space. I entered blockchain and crypto a bit before actually CryptoKitties and NFTs, but just for the background story, when we saw NFTs starting as kitties, we saw like the technology had potential, but we think we can make things with NFTs that people will be more attached to than just kitties. And what can you be more attached to than, well, the thing you spend time to create yourself? And that's where the idea of using NFTs in Sandbox came down.
That's amazing, Seb. And again, I think one of the things, once again, I tend to take a lot of these interviews from the perspective of an investor. And I think number one on my checklist is always, again, the track record of the team, the experience of the leadership, have they done or have they succeeded before? And one of the things that drew me very closely to Sandbox in the beginning was that you guys already had encountered a decent and actually a high level amount of success with the Sandbox as well as the Sandbox evolution. Coming from that point again, Seb, can you talk to us a little bit about your team? How many people do you have? Where are they located? Is that private information, or is that something that you could share with us?
No, nothing is pretty private about what we're doing. We're trying to really be as transparent as possible. So the team has been growing recently. At the beginning of the year, we were still 40 people in the company between four main locations: Argentina, where we had 24 people, France, where we had a team of 11 people, Korea, where we have a team of 2 people, and Japan of 1. But recently, since the Sand has been introduced on Binance, and we've been really accelerating the development of the different products that compose Sandbox platform, I think we're about 70 people building full-time as employees on the project. And we have then, as part of the various creators involved in the creator fund or the game maker funds, and an extra additional 50 people around the world producing amazing content that's being built with the VoxEdit editor or with the game maker for the game maker fund.
That's amazing. And the first time I actually heard about Sandbox was actually when you were doing that stream in Korea. I think I was in Korea back then as well, and it was surprising because you don't see you don't see a whole lot of games put so much effort in that market. But seeing you guys rent out that space, have that discussion, open up your own Telegram channel, it was very interesting to see how effective your Korean team was in spreading that news throughout that market. So we talked about the team. Again, I think you've stressed on this a couple of times already throughout the last 10 minutes, but you talk a lot about user-generated content, right? So you talk about your creators who are on VoxEdit. You talk about the creators who get on the game builder. Can you talk to us a little bit about how far the onboarding process has been? Has it been extremely popular? And what you guys are moving to in the future in order to make sure that you're encouraging people to create more and more, so that the project itself becomes more popular with more content.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we are pretty excited, and I think I'm lowering my word here, but we're super excited to see already all the content that's been produced by the community of artists and creators that are part of the Sandbox. You can see already a good part of it. We've started to unveil more and more. You can see on the sandbox.game/shop, where we have already a little bit more than 100 voxel artists that have been making content using VoxEdit, using the pre-existing template to create a game asset that will be used in the future by game creators to make their experience. And we also have now, as you mentioned in your introduction, more than 17 projects that I think are really of high quality, both visually, in the term of thematic stories, and the gameplays they will be offering also to the players inside our game maker fund. That I see some of you in the channel are part of the game maker fund. I think I saw Akatao somewhere.
Hakatao was very excited about that, and we saw the release of the Zombie Girl, right? I saw that on Twitter. Looking
Yes,
very cool.
It's really, it gives total freedom in the creation. So you can apply to the game maker fund. You pitch your idea. You detail like what's the content plan you in terms of asset production, and essentially the short pitch and gameplay that you envision for this game, and then we provide you with resource, guidance, project manager, level designer to assist you in the production of this game. So If we take the example of Aketao among the project, but we have many other teams, Polygonal Mind with Dethrone, we have Altitude Game with building Mushroom Mania, and then we have other indies and great talented artists who are building our teams of artists that are building Planet Rift, Uncharted World, Tomb of Treasure, Viking Fjord, etc. on Sandbox platform. And what is really great and makes us pretty happy is that they can build all of this with the game maker that requires no programming knowledge. So to a certain degree, we've already proven that the assumption that we can enable people to create games without having any coding knowledge, any programming knowledge, and that even artists could give life to their art, to the content they use to produce and potentially sell on other NFT marketplace as 2D traditional or video, 2D GIF, image or videos, into more 3D animated models and experience that will tell a certain vision, a certain story, and also will be much more interactive. So using the game maker as a way to create something new in terms of interaction in the NFT space, we find it's a very interesting promise. It's something that's not yet available in the space of all the other open metaverses that exist, such as crypto, voxels, Somnium Space, Decentraland, and a few others. And we are glad that we were able to put that focus more on gaming in Sandbox to offer something a little bit different in the space.
So, Seb, you brought up an interesting point, right? Whenever people talk about the metaverse, three names roll off the tongue, right? Decentraland, CryptoVoxel, Sandbox, and then after that, depending on the preference, it could be Sandbox, CryptoVoxel, DCL, Sandbox, CryptoVoxel, CV, Sandbox, DCL, right? I tend to interswitch. I turn to interswitch CV and Sandbox because you guys are my favorites. But can you tell me? So I guess very early on when you guys were doing your first land launch, your second land launch, we've always known that the bread and butter of the Sandbox is mainly going to sway towards more of a gaming angle, right? So you're building games, you're getting people to participate in games. However, I remember pestering you about it, and thank you for accommodating me very early on. And now we talked about interoperability. We talked about showing artworks. We talk about showing NFTs in the Sandbox itself. And given that, that would not only make you guys a gaming platform, but it would also make you guys also have a very social element, right? To the metaverse, to your position in the metaverse as well. What are your thoughts on that? In terms of in the future, is Sandbox only going to be used for gaming? Or is it going to eat everybody else's lunch? Sorry to be direct.
No, well, I think we're trying really to have a unique value proposition, which you've clearly identified as gaming. So I'm glad that now it seems to be in everyone's mind that this association, that Sandbox is potentially more for gaming, whereas there is existing other decentralized virtual world they are live, they have multiplayer features, they are more advanced in many areas than we are, like by the costumes, the outfits, the fact that you can already import your NFT and display them and build art galleries, build amazing events that are social, etc. So I'm very excited about all of that. We are not trying to churn that away or to compete directly with that. We think it's very interesting actually to have multiple virtual worlds where each one of us can decide to go when we want and have different sort of experiences. So it's great, and I really enjoy to go into crypto voxel or to explore Decentraland at times or participate in some of their activities. What we want to build with Sandbox, as you've identified, is more a play to earn experience that will revolve around either joining social hubs to chat with other players, customizing your avatar, and then completing quests with your avatar through games that are either made by us as part of developing a full stories that will revolve around a free faction, or playing in user-generated content games, or games made by partners, by creators from the Game Makers Fund. And one thing I didn't touch about is also the fact, and that makes Sandbox a little bit more unique in that perspective, is also the fact that we work with brands. So we put a lot of time, effort, and energy to try to convince big brands to trust our vision and come have a presence in the Sandbox virtual world and gaming metaverse, to accept to have their content become NFTs and potentially be used outside of Sandbox Game Maker. And we've done it with Atari, we've done it with Shaun the Sheep, Care Bears. We hope to announce today by new brands, hopefully. We are just a couple hours too early before the public release will go out, so I still cannot tell it yet. Sorry.
Seb, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited is the community going to be? Because I remember when you guys announced Square Enix and when you guys announced Atari, for those 1 or 2 days, you guys literally broke NFT land. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are we going to be?
Well, I wouldn't call it a 10 yet. Let's stay humble. It's probably 6, 7. Depends. I've grown with them for a while, so I really am really happy to be able to play with that IP that's coming. Let's see.
Keeping it professional, and once again, I know that all of us are gonna keep our eyes open for that. Seb, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, when you talk to people about the 3 different main metaverse platforms, the main thing is usually, hey, I prefer the aesthetic of this over the other, right? And once again, when you look at all 3 platforms, it's a different aesthetic altogether. They don't look like the same game. They don't offer the same value proposition. It's not going to be a winner takes all. So I do think I do agree with your very insightful comment just now that it's every single platform is going to have its role and appeal to a different set of players or users. You mentioned, so this is my favorite part, and it's also been the heaviest part that I've been involved in. For those on the stream right now who don't really know about the economics, tokenomics, or the play to earn mechanisms within Sandbox, Seb, can you roughly take people through Sand and Land? And then after that, when we talk through Sand and Land, we'll also talk about some of the staking initiatives that you guys have launched recently.
Absolutely. So, well, the underlying idea behind Play to Earn is it's a new business economic model where instead of having players purchase a game in order to play or make optional in-app purchase to experience a better game experience, like it's been the case so far in the traditional gaming industry, here players can enter a game totally for free, and even better, start monetizing the content that they earn through being involved in the gameplay or the activities of the platform. So typically in the Sandbox, the activities would be around by completing quests inside specific games and producing content as a creator, uploading assets on the marketplace, etc. You will be earning different rewards and different type of tokens that are required by other users' profile on the platform. So it creates a certain supply and demand with the possibility for you as a player to farm content, collect resources, and then sell them to another users, let's say an artist or creator, who in his turn needs those token resource to upload his content and be able to sell it, for example, on the marketplace. And through that, we are aiming to really spread into the community and give value to everyone who participates in the life and activity of the Sandbox. You can be many profiles at the same time, and they are not mutually exclusive. But there is really this underlying idea that when you get engaged with Sandbox and you participate in Sandbox, there will be something of value that can be returned to you.
Gotcha. So let's talk about them one by one, right? So we today on stream, I guess in the whale community, what you have is collectively one of the deepest pockets in NFT land, right? You have you have creators, but we also have a lot of collectors. We also have a lot of investors. So sand is the digital currency that the Sandbox is going to run on. That's correct, right?
Yes, it's a main utility token of the platform. It will serve as a main medium of transaction to purchase the land, the different asset, and pay to participate in some games or buy content. It will serve for governance as well in the future, participating in decision of the platform, the priorities on the roadmap, and voting for the grants of the foundation. And it's also it puts you into a staking mechanism, so you can earn certain yields and rewards by staking sand on the platform.
Perfect, because we know that with all tokens, and once again, you've been with us. I do have to thank you because I know that you've been with Whale from the beginning as well, and have been a major supporter of what we do here. I guess what you've seen as well is the more robust use cases that a social token has, the higher the demand, the higher the value. When we're looking at the Sandbox and in terms of the information available, so just now you said the use cases are you can buy assets. So assets we refer to, let's say maybe the zombie girl from Hackatown, or you can buy land, or you can stake, and you can also use it for platform governance. I do want to ask you a tiny bit about platform governance, but before I get to that question, are there any other use cases that you guys are envisioning outside of those four at the moment?
I think those are already four main use cases that we will be rolling out over time in Sandbox. Like, they are not yet all available from day one. Our vision is more for 5 years to 10 years long-term vision on building Sandbox and introducing progressively all the full decentralization and of all the full use case of Sand. What has been some interesting use case we've started to see appear, however, is already seeing other blockchain games in the ecosystem accept Sand as a way of payment. So Splinterlands, for example, has been I think the first game that accepts Sand as a currency to purchase some cards from their TCG game. Gala Game, Tom Star from Gala Game, which is made by the ex-co-founder of Zynga, Eric Schomeyer, as well as introduced Sand, and now being also part of the Animoca Brands group, where we have launched quite recently also Sand as a reward in a prize pool for their time trial, together with Rev and another token called Gami, which has also been launched recently.
Very cool, Seb. So very much the potential for Sand not only to be able to be used within the Sandbox itself, but also in partnering games and platforms as well. Right?
Yes, we absolutely, and I think we're really open to more ideas on the topic. So if you have specific ideas of like how you can use Sand or how you want to collaborate with Sandbox, feel free to reach out. We are always here to discuss the idea and see how we can potentially implement them in Sandbox.
Gotcha. So let's talk about governance a tiny bit. And we are getting questions filtering in. Seb, you are extremely popular. We will have a lot of questions for you from the community. Let's talk about governance. So once again, I mean, there's a very especially when you're running a game platform, right? I think there's a very fine balance that you have to work on when you're allowing community governments over a platform. What do you imagine to be some of the items that Sand holders are going to be voting in terms of governance on?
Well, I think there's one important thing and maybe I'm wrong, but it's just an opinion. It's not because we give the right to vote that everyone is specifically, once we have a large audience of gamers, potentially million plus of players, all of them will be interested to vote on. So it's going to be more related. The people who will want to vote will be the one that really the most engaged in the success of the platform, who have the higher stake in the success of the platform. This stake could be either in the portion of sand they own or the portion of land they own, obviously. And so the decision that these users will be able to vote on will be essentially related to the priorities of features on the roadmap, essentially deciding with us whether we should introduce a specific mode or kind of launching a new season, the type of prices we should put in place in those season of content and play to earn. And in the future, specific parameters to the platform, such as right now, we have set that on the sand tokenomics, if you had a chance to dig further into the white paper of Sandbox, you can see that every time there is a transaction coming in sand, typically, the amount of sand that is received is going to be distributed among different pools, and will have different lockup applied to it. So typically, half of it can go into the company treasury, and another half of it could go to a staking pool and foundation, just to simplify it. And the sand that is part of the company treasury is actually being locked for 6 months before it can be reused by the company or sold to market. And the sand that is going to the staking pool or the foundation, the proportion is still flexible, so we could decide that we need more content to be produced on the metaverse. We need to vote on certain games to provide a little bit more diversity. We don't want the Sandbox metaverse to be only RPG games. We want to see more emergent gameplay, maybe platformer, maybe shooter. We need a battle royale game, so we like to support a team to build that instead of I don't know, another type of content, etc.
Seb, I don't know if you know this, but so we just passed, I believe it was Whale DAO proposal number 8. We've actually launched something called Whale Studios. So we're heavy investors and heavy supporters of UGC platforms, particularly Sandbox. And once again, I think the Whale community is full of creators, artists, voxel artists, gamers, aspiring game makers. So just so that you know, that proposal was just passed this afternoon. And basically what we're going to be doing is we are going to be sponsoring teams within the Whale community to build up on some of those Sandbox lands. It has been my dream from day one, since I started buying land and investing in sand, to actually have a battle royale, a battle royale system, because I think that could be an epic, it could be an epic system for play to earn. And once again, it's really leveraging that multiplayer experience. There is one last question from myself before I hand it across to Allegria, because I do want the community to get all of their questions in. So last question from myself is: we really do see Sandbox with a very prolific spread and inclusion into exchanges, right? You can name some of the top exchanges you guys are there. I just wanted to better understand what was the thought process behind that, and what were you guys hoping to achieve by having such wide coverage of the Sand token across the crypto markets?
All right. So before I jump to that answer, I wanted to say a big congratulations for having that motion passed and creating Whale Studio. That's an amazing studio name. And I'm glad that we're able to pass on the dream of making games. This time, instead of the iPhone and Android platform, we are empowering people to build on on new type of platform like Sandbox, and I'm really looking forward to see all the games that the community will make, and I'm happy to provide more resource from us, from more help. If you guys feel like we are not good enough into explaining how our game maker works, how VoxEdit new feature works, etc., let me know, and we'll put an extra effort to build those tutorials and to provide the help, the live stream, the support to help the builders like Well Studio to achieve their dreams.
Thank you, Seb. We really look forward, once again, when we invest in any single project, and once again, when you look at quantity wise, Sandbox is our largest holding from a volume perspective. It's been so sad when you look at other projects and see the apathy towards developing and just holding land and waiting for it to appreciate it, based on the efforts of others who really want to create that content. So we very much plan to be a content creator rather than just a landholder.
Yes, and that's really the right approach. Like, I strongly believe that content first is the key, and that's what my previous experience and 8 years in UGC has taught us. Like, before we launch and we open publicly, we need to showcase good content, to build content that the quality will be high enough so that then it inspires more creators to join in. Like, if your first minute experiencing a product is, oh, it's empty, oh, the content doesn't look great, it will never trigger that moment of that wow moment that will tell you, I want to devote more time into this platform. So definitely, yes, a big something that's really big on our side. And that's why we've put a lot of effort into bringing more brands, bringing more creator, making sure that we have provided the resource and tools for that, and the tutorials, etc. And if it's not enough, we'll maybe even take decisions that are related to the content first, in terms of like our roadmap and when we think it's the right time to launch publicly or not, based on that. To your question around our strategy of making Sand token available to a large number of exchange around the world, like, we attach more importance on Sand token to the volume of trading and how many users are actually holding Sand in general, and so are an extended part of our community, than to the price itself. Our price is organic, and well, unfortunately, if I look at the price today, it seems it's been down for the past few days at 0.035 or something like that.
Seb,
But
don't worry, I've been buying. It's a good opportunity. And just for disclosure's sake, Seb, based on your multiplier, I think I'm running about 25 to 30% of your liquidity pool at the moment.
Well, that's a big
supporter of what
stake.
you guys are doing.
but that's my point also. Like, do not. I'm not worried myself. Don't feel like we're worried. On the contrary, like, the team has really a long-term vision. We are not attached to the daily variation of price. And our strategy, again, is not attached to price. It's really attached to volume and making sure and growing the number of people who hold Sand, and by holding Sand are potentially going to become users, whether players or creators or landowners in Sandbox in the future. And it's true that you said it yourself. You were quite impressed that we went to Korea. I spent quite some time myself last year. Unfortunately, not this year due to COVID, but last year I went 5 times to Korea, 2 times to Japan, and a few other countries, just to present, to meet community, and to present our game maker, our game platform, and NFTs in general. And the vision behind, even long time before even we introduced Sand token, and that's something pretty unique about the Sandbox. The Sand came much later, before the NFTs, etc. And we continue to do that on a large number of exchanges. So we've listed on Binance. We are available in Huobi in China. We are available in Upbeat in Korea. MXC in China, WBF, which I think is also one of the top 5 largest exchange in China. So now we're really pushing actually a lot our community growth and our presence in China. We just hired a new full-time person there who's been started last week and has been doing already an amazing work at putting in place all the channels and translation. The working in Japan, trying to get listed in Japan, even though it takes a while, but we've already a big partnership with CoinCheck there, which is one of the largest exchange.
Correct.
And
you guys
then
have just ticked off the largest exchanges in each market. I based on your speed, I just expect you guys to release an announcement that you guys are going to list on Coinbase as well. It seems like
it's going straight to PayPal. PayPal listing Sand tomorrow.
Well, there's a top 5 and Coinbase. Well, right now I'm happy we hit the 3 out of the 5. I have the 4th out of 5 still in discussion. But beside the large exchange, we also try to democratize NFTs and blockchain-based gaming into countries like Indonesia with Toko Crypto, India with WazirX. So trying also to spread more awareness about NFTs into not necessarily just the largest exchange, but the exchange that have strong regional presence, even if it's only just one country. Because we believe there is an opportunity for in those countries where there's a lot of younger generation of users to also be involved with play to earn with NFTs, and it makes an interesting value proposition for them among all the portfolio of tokens that are available.
Correct. And once again, I think people underestimate and undervalue that role of Sandbox as an ambassador to the greater crypto world. I know that, once again, the proliferation of Sand into many of these exchanges also coincided with the high profile that NFTs got over the last 2 to 3 months. So from my side, Seb, thank you very much for being that amazing ambassador. When people ask me who's one of the hardest working people in NFT land, I tell people and I think you've heard me say this, there's hardly a day that I don't see that Seb has taken out the time to speak with communities around the world, to talk about NFTs, to talk about Sandbox, and to talk about digital ownership. So just a personal thanks from me to you. Thank you for making NFT land so great. With that, what I'd like to do,
thank you,
Seb. Hey, no worries. And I tend to be a little bit selfish, especially when I really love the guests that we have, and I know that you and I can talk about NFTs and talk about Sandbox all day. I do want to give Alegria and the community a chance to ask some questions here. So if you don't mind, what I'm going to do is I'll hand it off to Alegria, and Alegria, you can take it away, my friend.
Hey, thank you for passing the ball, my man. Sebastian, longtime fan, first time caller. We had the pleasure of having dinner in New York one crazy cold night. I don't know if you remember, we went to Koreatown and had some fried chicken down there with G-Hose and the rest of the crew. That was a lot of fun. So when Will Shark says that things like the team are important, and having met you and been around you for a little bit, I can attest to that you and the rest of the team over there are just excellent people. So it's been fun watching your project not just grow, but blow up. So I'm very happy that you're here with us, and that Whale Shark is so heavily involved with you in the project. I've been collecting a few questions from the community. Some were answered already, so they're omitted, or we can. It's like some basic info that they can find out a little bit later. I have a question from AZ that says, I want to know if Sandbox team have a plan to support browsers just like the Decentraland. Is that in the works?
All right. Yes, but actually the short answer is no. We are not building for browser based. We're focused on desktop, so PC and Mac at the moment. Mobile and tablet will be the next platform we are aiming for in 2021, and then in the future we hope for console and even more mainstream devices. The main reason why not desktop, and I know that that many of us, because we've entered the space of blockchain game by playing them in broader based experience, but we still think it's not as a platform is not enough to satisfy and meet our quality requirement. Is that it's hard to run in the browser at the performance level we want with the quality of graphics that we want. So for now, we've been prioritizing making sure the game is great and smooth with the client. We hope it's not too much of a barrier to entry based on existing major mainstream title on PC and other platform. When you look at Fortnite, when you look at Roblox, when you look at Minecraft, when you look at Steam or even the Epic Store, having a client to install or a store to install on your computer to start playing a PC game, it's still part of what most gamers are used to. They are not used to play straight in a browser, and that's also how we can deliver the best experience in terms of graphic, in terms of performance. So that's why we haven't really focused on let's make it a whole web-based experience. But I do agree that browser base is amazing in terms of like how fast you can enter into the virtual world. Like you don't need to install a client, you don't need there's already Web3 wallet compatibilities from the get-go. So it also has its advantage, and we recognize that we have a higher barrier to entry for some users based on that. We hope that the graphics, the content will be a good argument for still allowing the users to say, oh, I want to install that and I want to play that.
Excellent response. Another question by Chafamone. He says, I'd like to know if there are plans on incorporating live stream capabilities into the game to open the possibilities of hosting audio and video within the virtual world like CB has been.
Right, that's a feature that I think will be really a cool addition. We have right now the ability to create your own posters and visual to already kind of brand game experience the way you like. Having it connected to streaming servers so you can put audio or video streams is a logical next step. It's very connected as well to the idea of building experience where we can have live concerts or live events. And I think we will be running it more towards the first half of 2021. It's definitely in our roadmap.
Cool. I will be there live streaming. For the sake of time, I'm gonna ask two more questions. JB Coco asks, what multiplayer modes planned? Is there a date for launching multiplayer games?
Well, yes. Actually, we silently released yesterday the first multiplayer release of Sandbox. This is more of a test. We are not yet announcing it because we think we can do even better in terms of multiplayer experience. But if you have, by any chance, the Sandbox game maker installed, downloading the latest build from the website, you can join Social Hub. It will appear in the feature space. And you can use the avatar you selected in your profile and chat with other players. So actually, and it could be fun, I would like to invite you, and it will be really the first time to install the game maker while we are on this interview, and meet me there. So we take our very first selfie picture in the Sandbox multiplayer virtual world. And see if it works great for everyone or it's still buggy. And it's an alpha, so if there's any bug, then we could say you will help us contribute to improve it.
I'm downloading that straight away after this interview, guys. Sam, you and I are taking lots of selfies together.
And one more question from Art Payne. Do you think the current creators are enough to populate the lands with games? I think the concern that they're having is, just populating and making sure that there's, enough activities for everyone.
Well, This is a great question, and this is also one that we think that there is, in total, there is 166 400 lands, and we are not going to release all of them at launch, right? We are keeping several of them. We made them available for the pre-sales to the public, and some of them we'll keep and sell over the next months and years to come. We are still reviewing also like how we are going to introduce the first games on the metaverse when we launch the beta, and build what we call this season-based approach, where we are selecting the content that will be made available initially, so that we are still curating the overall experience, so that players will be always satisfied, want to stay and come back. It's really important, and we showcase to other creators what's possible to do while setting the bar high. I wouldn't say too high, but high in terms of quality. The worst experience that could happen when we open the metaverse is like it's too wide, it's too open. You join as a player, but there's nobody else. You join. There's no one else around you in the multiplayer you can chat with. It looks empty, and the games are not fun enough for you to say, okay, I'm going to come back tomorrow. So that's something we really work to avoid.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you to the community for submitting those questions, for being curious, for checking it out. Sebastian, thank you for taking the time to answer them, and I'm sure if anyone has any more questions, they can visit your Discord and get some support and answers straight away from there.
Yeah. Absolutely. We have amazing community managers now, multilinguals, with whom you can interact, ask any questions, and I'm very, very happy that usually they take care in a great way of all the newcomers. Like that's how we've been able to grow our community to more than 55,000 people following us on Twitter, and more than 15,000 across Discord and Telegram. And of course, I try also to answer anytime direct questions and direct message as much as I can.
Seb, Alegria, thank you so much for representing the community and posing these questions. Seb, you actually had quite a bit of questions, but again, I think some of these were discussed as you and I went through the initial discussion. As we wind down, right? As we wind down this interview, let's look towards the future. Seb, so very last question from myself and closing out the interview. What does the timeline look like for a beta launch? What are you guys thinking in terms of when are we going to be able to hop parcels, play games, and shoot each other?
Well, we are definitely looking to add that transportation system that we introduced in an article a couple of months back, and allow to users to open across different land, whether they are social hubs or games made by creators from the Game Makers Fund, and we're still, I would say, aiming for December for that first taste of the experience. I wouldn't say it's going to be the final taste, though. It's still just and please believe me on that world. What you're going to see in December, we hope, will be a good taste of the vision we have. But give us even more time, 2021, maybe 2022, to achieve more of the full vision we've described. And I'm sure, you'll find in Sandbox great satisfaction.
Guys, so you guys heard it here. Once again, amazing project, amazing team. Like Seb said, they're also one of the most responsive teams that I've had the pleasure of interacting with. You can join their Discord. Alegria or Gian, if you guys can drop the link of the Discord, of the Sandbox Discord in there. They have a really robust community in there, lots of collectors, wonderful moderators, wonderful team members. Oh wow, you guys preempted me. That's amazing. So Seb, Again, thank you so much for spending the time with the whale community today. This was also streamed to Twitch, as well as will be put on YouTube. I think we're all very excited as a community, as one of Sandbox's largest investors. We're thrilled for your current successes, and we're even thrilled to see your future successes. I know that we have the vault. We'll have the vault audit coming up relatively soon in the next 1 to 2 days. I think everyone can see how much Sandbox is actually contributing to that growth. Seb, thank you again for the interview. Thank you for building such amazing projects in the space. And thank you for being such an amazing ambassador, not only through Sandbox, but also through the Blockchain Game Alliance. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you for all the support as well, being one of the largest landowner, but also building such an amazing community that I get to interact with today, and showing your commitment to creating game and content in our virtual world. Really looking forward to the Whale Studio and all and interact with the creators and builders that will be part of it. And hopefully we'll have a Whale Studio game very soon, hopefully even for the December beta or in the couple of weeks following it. That would be amazing.
Absolutely. We'll make sure we get on it.
From the community and myself, thank you for coming over. We'll definitely check out the Discord and be active and try to learn as much from the game, because the beta in December. Hey.
hey.